Hello, Jay.
These are some of the most disturbing and gut-wrenching POV clips ever caught on camera. I've personally searched through countless videos to try and bring you only the most intense and unfiltered moments. Some of these are so extreme that they've been wiped from the internet, so as always, viewer discretion is highly advised. Level 1. Man discovers lost GoPro. In July 2019, YouTuber Rich Aloha was scuba diving in Foster Falls State Park, Tennessee, when he made a shocking discovery. He had been hunting for treasure, but found nothing more than a GoPro camera buried in the mud at the bottom of a lake near a water.
Is it loud enough?
It turned out that the GoPro belonged to Richard Ragland, a 22-year-old man who had tragically drowned at the same location 2 years earlier in 2017.
What the fuck?
He was spending the day with friends, swimming near the waterfall when he went underwater, but never came back up, just days before his 23rd birthday. But what made this discovery so incredible was that the SD card inside the camera was still intact and functional despite being submerged for a full 2 years. When he checked it, Rich discovered that the footage on the card captured Ragland's final moments.
What if he uploaded
smiling,
that?
swimming, and enjoying his day with friends. At the time, Rich had no idea who the man on the tape was, but he soon remembered that he had been told all about Ragland's death by park rangers. This was likely the young man's lost camera. Determined to do the right thing, Aloha spent hours researching online to find a way to contact Ragland's family.
What, the
Eventually,
AI?
Aloha succeeded in reaching out to Ragland's parents, Robin and Gary McCreer, who were overwhelmed by the news. They had previously been sent a thumb drive by park rangers containing some of the final footage of their son, but it had apparently been stolen in transit, meaning they never got any closure on his death. Aloha eventually met with the McCreers to return the GoPro and its contents, making for an emotional moment. The family was grateful for the opportunity to see their son living life to the fullest in his final hours.
Damn.
Robin McCreer expressed her appreciation for Aloha's efforts, saying that his persistence in contacting them means the world to us. Aloha, who considered his diving adventures a form of ministry, felt that he was divinely led to this discovery. He described the experience as indescribable.
That'd be scary to like be swim around that fucking mucky water.
More impactful find.
Fuck.
Exploration of the Bohemian Grove. YouTuber Dancer1 conducted a daring investigation into the secretive Bohemian
It's not scary.
Grove,
Dude, I fucking hate deep water.
2,700-acre campground in Monte Rio, California, owned by the elite Bohemian Club. Well, at least that's what we know to be true. For years, the Bohemian Grove has been the focus of conspiracy theories due to its highly exclusive nature and elite membership. Very few people are allowed to join, and those that do are rarely ever heard from again. That tight-knit secrecy has led to a host of claims of satanic rituals and allegations of youth abuse, which have surrounded the club for as long as it's existed. But Dancer1 wanted to know for sure. He waited until the off-season.
I don't really say it's like the triple K, but
be visiting the campground. Using a kayak, he quickly crossed the Russian River and entered the property undetected.
I don't think it's race based, but there's really no telling.
In steep terrain, he eventually reached the heart of the campground, only to find it was far, far more unsettling than even he expected. Right before him, he saw the infamous 40-foot owl statue, which serves as the centerpiece for the club's annual cremation of care ritual, a slightly unsettling annual tradition that nobody gets to see. But the further into the grounds he got, the more and more surveillance Dancer1 saw. Video cameras and security guards everywhere, and that was just what he could see. There could be motion-activated sensors anywhere, and the consequences of breaking into the world's most secure cult could be deadly. So he left.
They rushed him.
Dancer1's investigation didn't stop with this initial foray.
Or they probably end up killing him, honestly.
He returned to Bohemian Grove multiple times, including during the annual July encampment when the cremation of care ritual takes place. He says that he even witnessed part of the ritual, describing the sight of a person covered in cloth being carried and placed in a boat, suggesting a mock sacrifice of some kind. But the truth is that nobody has any idea what takes place in Bohemian Grove behind closed doors. And Dancer1's investigation suggests we don't want to.
Mark my words.
Level 2. Westing,
Idiot.
in the heart of Cleveland, Ohio.
Mark my words. If we get 100K on Twitch, we're going there. Doing a stream.
The once mighty Westinghouse Electric Factory.
100K subs going to Bohemian
America's
Grove.
Industrial prowess. This colossal facility, which had churned out everything from metal casings to lighting equipment, was once among the largest factories in the United States. But in 1979, the production lines fell silent and the factory doors closed for good, leaving behind a giant shell of its former glory. Chris Hill, also known as Urbex Hill, set his sights on uncovering the secrets that lay within the abandoned walls of the factory. He wanted to discover the remnants from the factory's heyday, frozen in time for over 4
The fuck
decades.
is that?
But before he even got
It's like
into
an
the
unloaded
building,
texture.
Chris got an ominous sign.
Like spaghetti and lasagna.
Sound of gunfire, a shootout not far from their location.
Yeah, somebody's shooting. Damn. That's Cleveland.
Just where the fuck is this at?
That's crazy.
Alright.
It's not even that far away from here.
What the fuck could be even happening?
Shit, that sounds like a shootout.
But it wasn't enough to stop him. He wanted to see inside the factory.
There's no ways
The
inside.
factory itself was nothing special, just an abandoned building left to decay. But when they went into the basement, everything got much
Still water.
more real.
Those who know.
The place looked like a war zone, dripping with water and broken down. That's when the noises began.
Okay, I'm hearing something.
Dude,
Maybe it's an animal.
dude. Being like in a place like this with a flashlight, you're like a fucking target, brother.
Noises echoed through the
Like,
basement, which Urbex Hill
it's just a
assumed
target on your head.
hoped was some kind of an animal, like a stray dog. Of course, if they did encounter a stray dog in this basement, escaping would be a serious challenge. But as if all of this wasn't intense enough, Urbex's
I've heard of
lights
night vision.
started to switch off right
Yeah,
as
bro
those
got about like
unsettling
5
noises
grand laying around just the
began.
Urban
It
Explorer.
was horrible timing, but the bizarre and unknown noise just made them want to venture deeper and find out what it was. They found a strange man crouched in the corner, shirtless and staring at the wall, not moving.
The
He
fuck?
was clearly homeless, possibly high on some kind of drug. But suddenly, the
Dude,
noises
he's doing the
made
Finn
sense.
crouch.
It turns out that the basement was home to a homeless encampment, a large-scale resting place for people who have nowhere else to turn. But that was enough
Yeah,
to
for
make
real.
Urbex say it was time to leave, if they could still find the exit. Dog's GoPro captures strange sounds in Michigan forest.
Dog's
A man
GoPro.
and his dog were hiking through the Huron National Forest in Michigan. The man had fixed a GoPro to the dog, hoping to get some cool and unique footage from his pup's POV. The man had a history of hunting for Bigfoot, always hoping that he would one day get the legendary creature on camera. So far, he had been unsuccessful.
Really?
But the man never once gave up hope.
Dog.
This could be the day. But he couldn't have anticipated
He's like a
he'd get
Rottweiler?
something far, far stranger. As the dog fished around the forest looking for something fun and interesting to play with, a bizarre sound rang out across the woodland. A strange shriek, inhuman and frankly unsettling.
I don't know what the hell that is over there.
No, dog, no! What the fuck?
It sounded nothing like any other known animal
Sounds like
sound
a
in the world.
eerie
something
background
more
noise from a
demonic,
game.
Screechy. The dog heard it right away, and the man soon heard it afterwards, but he had no clue what the animal could possibly have been. The noise just got louder and louder, and more intense to boot. As the dog started going toward it, the man decided that they had to leave.
Yeah,
It was too
we always say the
dangerous
dog.
to go and chase the sound of an animal they had never heard before. When the video was eventually uploaded, the man
Crazy sounding critter.
identified the sound as an Aztec death whistle, a bizarre
Oh,
and
yeah.
sinister old whistle once used by the Aztecs for sacrificial purposes. It emits a sinister, haunting, and frankly terrifying screeching sound, exactly like the one the man and his dog heard. But whether this was all one big prank or something more sinister and intense,
The dog gets eating. Yeah, brother, what?
Daniel O'Neill's camping encounter. In 2023, Daniel O'Neill, the creator behind the YouTube channel English Woodsman, was making what he thought would be a pretty typical camping video. He had ventured into an area he was not super familiar with, that he had never really visited before, hoping for a totally different kind of video. Daniel had specifically chosen his location to be far from the nearby cows, right in the middle of the woodland for some peace and quiet. But as he set up all of his recording equipment, he started to feel unsettled by something he had heard.
Hello.
Brother, please tell me it's a strap on him, though.
You got a bit of that. There's nobody here.
I heard a noise, huh? Brother, what?
I'm gonna put it down. There could just be something behind me here, but it sounded like human footsteps.
While he was
Oh,
walking,
holy
he heard
shit.
a strange noise, what seemed to be human footsteps beside him. But he was all on his own, and if there had been someone walking near him, he would have been aware of it. The overthinking was bothering him. He couldn't spend an entire video obsessing about it, but the noises didn't stop. Not for a second.
Bro, it's just him
After
walking.
his tent was set up and he was inside, he suddenly heard another
Brother.
mysterious sound outside.
Get scared of his
It
own
seemed to be
footsteps.
someone walking past his tent. He
Oh,
dismissed
hell
it
no.
again, convinced that he was now just hearing what he wanted to hear. But when he played back the recording, he confirmed that the sound was real. Yet, nobody was in the area. By this point, his anxiety was rapidly increasing, noticing more and more bizarre noises outside of his tent. But every time he checked, he saw nobody nearby. And the sounds picked up on the recordings seemed impossible. Dry footsteps, despite the wet, muddy conditions. No matter how much he convinced
It's a good
himself
observation,
that he was just
I guess.
hearing things or making it up, Daniel kept hearing the noises. He knew he had to find another spot to camp outside of the woods. He later described the noises that he had heard as being animal-like, but impossible to describe in any more specific
It's
way.
bipedal. Unless it's
All
like
he
a very
knew was
slow
that he had to get
walking,
out of there as
I guess
quickly as
quadrupedal
possible.
fucking
He'd
thing.
never come to know what the noise was. Level 3.
Level 3.
Fake cop traffic stop. It was just after midnight on a September night in 2019, and an Albuquerque Police Department officer was driving home when he noticed what seemed to be a traffic officer conducting a stop near 4th Street and I-40.
In jeans,
The officer
huh?
pulled over an SUV and was in the process of interrogating the driver. Something about it rang strange to the APD officer. For one thing, the traffic stop officer wasn't driving a regulation
Is that a
vehicle.
Ford
He was
Focus?
driving a civilian car with red and blue flashing lights.
Motherfucker,
For
what?
another, he was wearing plain clothes
What if-
with nothing even remotely police-like other
Yeah,
than a
that's him, bro.
strange
Look at him.
star-shaped badge on his belt. And the biggest and strangest issue of all, he just happened to look very young. The APD officer decided to approach the traffic cop and get some answers, believing that he would have identification that could clear the whole thing up. The traffic officer introduced himself as Brendan Wazinski, a cop that had worked for the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office for 3 years.
Hey,
He had
Broderick.
stopped the SUV for allegedly traveling at 120 miles per hour on the highway, but something was still really
Brother,
off.
what?
And the more that he questioned Officer Wazinski, the more that feeling continued to grow. Officer Wazinski couldn't produce proper identification. His birth year, 1994, didn't match the registration of his vehicle, suggesting that
yeah.
wasn't his car.
He's like 23?
And he wasn't wearing appropriate police attire or equipment.
Yeah, motherfucker don't even have a fucking vest. He gets
Wazinski
fucking
admits that he was
blicked.
not
He's fucking
and had
donezo.
never been a cop.
Alright. I'm just gonna be straight up honest with you. I'm not a cop.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just gonna be.
Where'd you get that badge from?
I bought it offline.
Okay. Do me a favor, stay in here, okay, for a second.
He had purchased the badge online and fabricated his story about being a deputy.
Yeah, he looks
expecting to
super
get
young.
away
I was
with
gonna
it
guess
and
like
secure a
21.
bribe from the people he was pulling over. Wazinski was arrested and charged as an adult with impersonating an officer. During questioning, he changed his story multiple times, at one point claiming the badge belonged to his deceased father, a claim the sheriff's office couldn't verify. In the end, all that they knew was that Wazinski had lied about being an officer, but everything else remained a total mystery.
Boy, that's
Fishing
cap.
next to an active dam. In 2022, a YouTuber called Skylar, or The Sky Life, decided to make a fishing video.
Dude, those
But
dams,
he
those things
wanted
are
to go
fucking
fishing
dangerous.
in a unique and different spot,
Brother.
settling on a bank next to the very active Phoenix Dam. Signs all over the area had warned of danger, urging people not to fish in the water. The official guidance was that there would be 3 loud sirens signifying that the dam was about to release and flood, but Skylar didn't care. He thought the odds of that happening were so low that it was almost irrelevant. At first, Skylar's experience was
Brother.
incredible. After a series of failed fishing attempts,
not
he was
Crystal
getting
Lake,
a
my
whole
boy.
bunch of impressive catches. Smallmouth and largemouth bass were coming in left and right, and he believed he was about to catch a real big one. A
Real
giant,
big one.
Unidentified fish that nobody had seen before.
An
But
unidentified
the fishing
fish.
trip was suddenly interrupted by a loud, blaring noise. A siren.
He has to go across. Brother, what? What?
I gotta go.
Why would you go all the way across?
I got 2 more sirens. Uh-oh. I'm almost back.
Skylar knew instantly that wasn't good.
Why would you
but then it
go
was
up?
followed by a second siren. Knowing that the water was about to be released in a very, very dangerously quick gush, Skylar had to rush over the slippery rocks to safety. The exact situation the signs had warned him about.
Brother, he is
He had to stay
gone.
calm even though they were mere
What the
moments
fuck? He
away
couldn't have
from
gone the
being
other way?
completely
Huh?
Obliterated.
I'm
When he finally
completely
got to
obliterated.
safety, he realized that there was no third siren coming. The entire thing had been a false alarm, possibly triggered to deter him from fishing in the area. The
Wait.
water wasn't rising, nor was it ever
Wait.
going to rise. In his rush to escape the scene, Skylar had injured his leg, another risk that these signs had warned him about. He had a
Wait.
good time fishing while he did, at least. Despite initially dismissing
Okay.
the warnings that had been laid out all over the area, Skylar finally had to admit that he should have listened. He told his
I thought he was
viewers
gonna
to
go back
respect
and
the
like get
warnings,
swept away like,
be
brother,
safe,
what?
and to not go fishing next to an active dam.
Fuck up.
Orca encounter. In Norway, a group of tourists
Orca?
climbed on board a big wooden boat heading out into the fjords in hopes of seeing some orcas in the wild. Of course, there was no guarantee that they would be able to see any, but just as the sun was starting to go down,
Are those things
had
like
some luck.
super?
An orca passed by their boat,
I thought like
and then
super
another.
hostile.
and another. Within a matter of minutes, they found themselves in the middle of a massive pod of whales with dozens and dozens of the orcas
Oh!
surrounding them and passing peacefully. It was an incredible view, but of course, everyone was terrified. The
Dude,
killer whale is one of the biggest animals on the planet, an apex predator
Yeah.
that has more than earned its reputation in the world.
those things weigh it
While they
more
don't
than the
usually
fucking
tend
boat
to attack
does.
humans, there have been multiple cases of that happening. In 1972, a surfer in California was bitten on the leg by an orca but survived. In 2005, a 12-year-old boy in Alaska was bumped by an orca while swimming but not injured. And in
25
2014, a diver in New
foot?
Zealand was pulled underwater by an orca grabbing his catch bag but escaped unharmed. All other cases of humans being attacked or killed by orcas have happened in captivity. But that doesn't mean that seeing this many this close is not terrifying.
In captivity?
Fortunately for these people, the orcas had no interest in harming them. Hidden basement discovered.
Okay, that wasn't that scary. I
A
think we
man
got
had
clickbaited.
recently moved into a studio apartment in England, having agreed to rent it without even seeing it once. The cost of living in the UK had skyrocketed, and all he really wanted was a small, nice space for an affordable amount. But when moving day arrived and he came to see his
There
new
were like
home
these
for the
fucking
first
cheese
time,
holes in the
he
wall.
started to realize exactly why the rental price was so low in the first place. The whole vibe of the place was strange. It was a beautiful old building with high ceilings, a 19th century monastery type design with mirrors everywhere. But the bedroom was so small that he couldn't even stand up. But none of
You're
that
standing fine to
was
me.
anything compared to the strange handle in the floor. He believed that the apartment was built to contain some
Then I
additional
go get in
underfloor
with by an
storage.
orca. What the fuck
When
does
he
that even
opened
mean?
it, he found that it went much, much deeper than he had anticipated. Alone in his home at 10 p.m. with nothing more than a camera and a torch, he ventured down into what he described as the dungeon of the house. The dungeon was covered in graffiti with a bricked-up window, a bizarre trench with a grate
Why is that window
he
named after me?
suspected was a burial ground, and what appeared to be a brick seat or a sacrificial altar. It had all the
sacrificial
hallmarks of
altar?
some kind of
Huh?
ceremonial sacrifice dungeon. But the dungeon was even bigger. The further he got,
What
the more
the
it became
fuck?
clear why the rental price was so low. Anyone who came to see the property would have seen the sacrificial room and fled. The dungeon was wired for electricity, and he could hear the sounds of the neighbors upstairs who most likely have no idea about what is going on right under their own homes. A newspaper left behind was dated 1984, suggesting that the place was in use for a long, long period of time. But what it was used for, we'll never know. And
That's
I don't think this
so
guy really
weird.
wants to know.
And it's like right there too.
Creepy
What the fuck?
satanic bridge. In the
Creepy
summer of
satanic bridge.
1999, Chris Childrey was producing a report for the George Washington High School art and literary magazine, Wantes, shooting footage of the aptly named Satan's Bridge in Virginia. The footage opened with shots of animal carcasses, some of them as fully intact skeletons, some of them simply remnants shoved into a trash bag and left in a ditch. While there was no way to know for sure, the presence of
Gonna
deer
visit it?
suggested
Alright.
that this was the work of hunters who
Go ahead, my
had
boy.
no purpose for the animals they had so cruelly murdered. But the more Chris recorded footage, the more convinced he became that this may not
Why are
have
there
been
animals in
hunters
trash bags? That makes no
at all.
sense.
This may have been people performing ritual sacrifice in the name of Satan. This may seem like a stretch, but when he ventured under the bridge to investigate further, Chris found all the proof that he could have hoped to find. He had found 5 stones arranged in a pentagram formation with sand and ashes in between, a typical formation for occult practices. He discovered a burned piece of paper identified as a religious tract with John 3:16 on it. And next to it all, black candles, typically associated with satanic rituals, were
Ugh.
also present in the area.
The fuck?
All of the hallmarks of occult practice were present. And while he never filmed them out of respect, Chris had seen multiple dead human bodies around the bridge throughout 1999 and
No, so he must have learned from Logan
an
Paul.
unsettling pattern that only further
Wow.
convinced him that Satanists were in action all over Virginia. They were sacrificing living things to appease Satan. Chris eventually stopped visiting the bridge entirely, freaked out by what he had seen over the years. But in the years since his footage, Satan's Bridge has become more of a casual hangout spot for teenagers.
Oh yeah, of course it
with
has. Fucking
less
has.
openly satanic practices taking place. At least, that we know of. Level 4.
Oh, dude, the fuck.
Sophia McKenna and Spencer Mugford. In the early hours of May 27, 2018, Sophia McKenna and her friend Spencer Mugford embarked on what was supposed to be an
The
adventurous
fuck is
night
that?
out to the new London Ledge Lighthouse.
London Ledge
Spencer was
Lighthouse?
a student at the University of Connecticut Avery
What is
Point.
that, fucking Hogwarts? Huh?
Campus well known for its marine credentials. The two of them took a white and blue
Oh.
14-foot sunfish sailboat.
I thought that
with a
was something
mast from the school's
completely
marina and
fucking
began
different.
paddling toward the lighthouse, located about a mile offshore.
That's
Around
way too
2
high,
a.m.,
isn't it?
Spencer posted a photo on Snapchat showing Sophia at the lighthouse. This would be the last known communication from either of them. Between 2:05 a.m. and 2:09 a.m., Sophia's mother, Michelle McKenna, received 7 missed calls from Spencer's phone. Unfortunately, she was asleep and didn't see them until later. When neither Sophia nor Spencer were heard from the next day, their families filed missing persons reports. The Coast Guard, along with state and local agencies, launched an extensive search operation covering 2,025 square miles over 71 hours.
Damn.
2 days after their disappearance, the hull of the boat they had used washed up on a beach in New York, but they were nowhere to be found.
Yeah, there's no
On
fucking
June
telling where
8th,
that shit came from.
2018, a boater made a grim discovery. Spencer's body found floating in the water about 2 miles south of Avery Point. The cause of death was determined to be drowning.
Yeah.
Despite extensive searches, Sophia has never been found.
Damn.
At the time of her disappearance, she was 5'9", weighed 130 pounds, and had brown hair and blue eyes.
5'9",
She had several
130
distinctive tattoos,
pounds?
including phrases on her foot and ankle,
Oh,
a
what the
crescent moon
fuck?
on her waist, and cherry blossoms with a butterfly on her shoulder.
You think
All
I put that
distinctive,
too? What the
easily
fuck?
recognizable traits. None of them were seen.
It's
Investigators
like a Bay Harbor
theorized
Butcher
that
type
after
shit.
docking at the lighthouse, the boat may have come loose. Spencer, a strong swimmer, might have attempted to retrieve it, but struggled in the cold, dark waters. Sophia, not being a strong swimmer, may have tried to help him, leading to both of them getting into trouble. The disappearance of Sophia McKenna remains a mystery. Her family continues to hold on to hope that she might still be alive, maintaining a Facebook group called Finding Sophia McKenna to keep her case in the public eye.
Yeah. Yeah, about
Missing
that.
kids in the woods. In late September 2021,
She's
3
never coming
young
back, by the way.
children aged 2, 6, and 7 went missing in the Sam Houston National Forest near
OJ.
Montgomery County, Texas. The children had taken a commonly used trail connecting their homes, but diverted from the path. to
Yeah,
play
I
in
fucking knew it. Fuck you, dude.
When they were done, they soon realized they were lost. The Montgomery County Sheriff's Office received the initial report of the missing children around 7:55 p.m. on Thursday. But as night fell and rain set in, concerns for the children's safety grew. They
Damn.
had to be found quickly, or they might not be found at all.
Who
A
the
large-scale
fuck?
search operation was launched involving law enforcement agencies from several jurisdictions, fire department personnel, Montgomery County Search and Rescue, helicopters, drones, and canine tracking dogs.
Damn.
Throughout the night, search efforts continued in the dense forest area.
That's like
searching
fucking
every
swamp
single
type
area they
shit.
could. The children, following advice their parents had given them, took shelter under a fallen tree and stayed in one spot, waiting for help to arrive. On
Coronavirus?
Friday morning, a local volunteer familiar with the forest set out to search for the kids. Around 9:30 a.m., he located the children in an area at least a mile from where they were thought to have entered the forest. Initially struggling with poor cell service, the volunteer eventually contacted 911. Dispatchers triangulated his position and directed Sergeant Jason Smith of the Montgomery County Precinct 2 Constable's office to their location. Body cam footage captured the moment Sergeant Smith found the children and the volunteer.
Ain't Jesus good?
He is good. Kids, I'm the police. Are y'all ready to get out of the woods? Come on,
then.
buddy.
Let's get out of here.
W.
You got cheeseburgers in your car?
We're going to get something to eat. Okay? You want to hold my hand? We'll get out of here?
Cold.
Is he covering his like body
Smith
cam?
led the group out of the dense forest using his phone's compass for navigation. When his phone stopped working, he had other responders activate their sirens to guide him in the right direction. After about a 20-minute hike, they emerged from the woods and reunited with the waiting first response personnel and confirmed to be uninjured before being reunited with their relieved families, marking a massive victory for what could have been an unimaginable tragedy. GoPro captures sounds in a cave. The action-adventure twins had hit on something big. In the middle of nowhere, somewhere in the Appalachian Mountains, they had found an inexplicable pipe in the middle of the forest. Now they were back to find out what exactly was inside. It took the twins 3 hours to hike their way into the mountains through the poison ivy and far enough into the middle of nowhere to find the pipe. Tying a string
Random
around
ass
their
pipe.
GoPro, they slowly lowered it into the pipe. But, much to their surprise, it just kept going and going and
Dude, I don't
going.
know how fucking
The
parents
sounds
lose
they
their
got
kids
were
like that.
nothing special, just the sound of metal for a while. But then everything changed. They could hear water down there. But whenever they shined their flashlights into the pipe, all they saw was another pipe at the bottom.
Snail.
One that the GoPro never seemed to hit. The twins were convinced that there was some kind of cave system below, some river or small body of water, but the weirdest was about to happen. The GoPro began to pick up strange sounds, inexplicable heavy breathing.
Dude, I wish we were
footsteps.
fucking wearing a dishwasher
The
right
GoPro
now.
had landed right next to somebody.
That's moving. What the fuck?
The GoPro hadn't come into contact with anything solid. It had continued to go down just as it had to.
I
up
should
to
have
this
tried.
point.
I guess I couldn't have
It simply
seen.
made no sense. When the GoPro was retrieved, they once again shone the flashlight into the pipe, hoping they would see something that could clarify what was going on down there. But again, all they could see was some kind of reflective metal at the bottom, which they thought was impossible. The GoPro went so deep that it surely would have hit the metal. Instead, it simply continued without stopping. The twins maintain to this day that the pipe is wrong somehow, that there's something strange about it that makes simply no sense whatsoever. Maybe it's a cave system, maybe it's an underground river, but the pipe never seems to end, and whatever is down there remains a creepy, unknowable factor. Abandoned school.
What the fuck?
For over 13 years, Robert Fulton
Oh, just shut the
Elementary
hell up,
School
boy.
in Cleveland, Ohio has been left to deteriorate and rot into nothing.
Oh my gosh, almost died.
YouTubers and urban explorers now view it as one of the best places to go poking around, including Chris Hill. Chris Hill from the Urbex Hill channel had explored the school once before in 2022 and encountered some seriously unsettling things. But 2 years had passed, and he wanted to see how much things had changed, and just how deteriorated it had become. When
Why
he
the
entered
fuck do they
building
just
at
leave
1
these things
a.m., he soon
abandoned?
realized that the place had deteriorated quite a bit, to the point of total structural instability. The stairs
Oh, that's
under
smart.
his feet creaked
Still water.
so badly they could collapse at any moment. The upper level of the school was seemingly on its last legs, but Chris was looking beyond that and seeing much more concerning warning signs. There were scribbles on the wall everywhere he turned, ominous messages like "Don't explore alone" and "Keep out," suggesting that people had been here not long before. In the classrooms, he found evidence that people had been squatting inside the school,
Damn.
possibly as recently as the night before.
Got the entire camera set up.
He
What
had
the
heard
fuck?
noises in the school from the second he entered, but he had seen nobody. And against his better judgment, he decided to press on and explore further. Unfortunately, he was about to encounter the one thing that he could never have counted
The
on.
fuck is that?
A screaming man.
That would scare the absolute fucking shit out of me. What the fuck?
Oh shit. I don't know if he's chasing me, but this.
Yeah, get the fuck out of there, my boy. What the fuck?
That scared the fuck out of me.
Chris had no idea who the guy was, where he came from, or what he wanted, but it was enough of a warning to get him the hell out of the place. When he finally got out of the school, Chris reflected on the whole experience, concluding that the guy was most likely a squatter. He was probably worried that Chris was robbing him or taking over his territory. But when he went back to review the footage later, he realized that he was never actually on his own. The figure had been seen earlier in the background, quietly shifting from one room to another,
Oh.
always keeping an eye on Chris.
Oh, what
Level
the
5.
fuck?
The note and the
Oh,
witness.
what the
It
fuck?
was August 2020, and a man named David was using the Randonautica app, a unique
Randonautica.
application designed to generate random coordinates for the user to go and explore. David believed that the coordinates he had been given would lead him to something fascinating, exciting even. But when he reached the site, he found something that was completely unsettlingly creepy. The location was a mess, with a fire pit sitting right in the middle of a clearing and some strange
That's not really a
items all
fire
around.
pit. The fuck?
Multiple bras were perfectly arranged on a tree branch. Scattered condom packages were littered on the floor, and a handwritten note requested a cell phone number. David knew that this whole thing was creepy and kind of messed up. The bras and condoms suggested some kind of intimate adult activity, but the fire pot was an unsettling addition to the whole thing. He started to feel as though many women had come to this very spot only to be harmed and sacrificed. And even though he knew that the smart thing would be to turn and leave without even stopping to think, he put his number on the note as requested, leaving his personal contact information behind.
Huh?
In his mind, this would be the first step in a long adventure, or a total unrepenting nightmare. David didn't hear anything back for a while. He thought that the whole thing was totally futile, some weird prank that would never go anywhere. But
Why
then,
the fuck would you
out of
do
the blue,
that?
he got a text message from an unknown sender.
Wow,
When he
really?
opened the message, David was horrified and deeply unsettled to discover that the sender had sent him
Hello.
his own home address. David knew that he had only put his phone number,
He's good.
but now he was convinced that he was being stalked.
Yeah.
Nobody knows
Huh?
what happened to David after this part of the story, and many unanswered questions remain.
You
about
can
the
easily
scene
fucking
that
ping
found
the
in
phone number.
woods, but none of them can ever be answered. And those who do know the answers likely aren't around anymore to share them. Apitor, Tor Eckhoff. Tor Eckhoff, or Apitor as he was better known on YouTube, was a massive social media star. With a 1.2 million strong following on YouTube and content with
fuck?
over 389 million views, he had made a name for himself by showing off travel videos showcasing the beautiful landscapes of his home, Norway. But Apitor was not just your run-of-the-mill travel content creator. He wasn't interested in only showing the gorgeous landscapes of his homeland. He would film himself performing dangerous, unthinkable stunts, usually involving ice skating on thin ice, diving into icy
Chainsaw?
waters, and drinking vodka in extreme conditions. And his followers loved him for it.
But what?
One day he posted a video titled, "I am not dead, I am 57 today." It was his 57th birthday, and he was doing basically all the stuff that his fans came to his channel for. He was immersed in what looked like a freezing
what
outdoor
fucking
bathtub,
nasty ass
drinking
water.
vodka straight from the bottle. But what the fans didn't know is that this would be the last time he would ever be seen. On November 22nd, 2021, Eckhoff was filming a video at Jakobs Dam near the town of Kongsberg, Norway. The video was going to be one of his usual stunts, seeing him skate on frozen lake water. But today,
Yeah,
the
frozen
ice
lake
broke
water, wow.
and pulled him into the freezing lake water. Witnesses could hear his screams for help from a distance and quickly alerted emergency services. Within a short space of time, divers managed to rescue Eckhoff from the icy lake, and he was airlifted to Ullevål Hospital in Oslo. Yet, despite the efforts of medical professionals, Eckhoff succumbed to his injuries on the same day. He had been underwater
Damn.
for too long, and doctors were unable to save him. The news of his death was a massive shock for his fan base, especially given that just days earlier, he had posted the video celebrating his 57th birthday. In his honor, his fans shared messages of how his videos brought joy to them. His partner, Tove Sharvin, shared a heartfelt message on Facebook describing the loss as indescribable and thanking Eckhoff for the memories they shared. He was no longer alive, but his memory would never die.
Damn.
Pilot crash.
What the
It was
fuck?
November 2019, and a student pilot was flying alone in the single-engine Cessna 172.
Oh,
The
hell
Cessna had
no.
long been described as a friendly plane to fly for a new pilot, but something was going very wrong with this one. On the approach to landing at North Perry Airport in Pembroke Pines, Florida, the pilot was experiencing difficulties. The landing procedure wasn't going as smoothly as it typically did.
That's gotta be
When the
scary
wheels
as
eventually hit
fuck.
the tarmac, the plane immediately veered right off the runway, sliding into a grassy area right next to it. The pilot couldn't seem to stop the plane as it hit and damaged 2 airport signs until the plane eventually came to a powerful stop. Local police and fire rescue teams immediately responded to the scene when the crash was reported, with the sheriff's office coming in to give their guidance too. Miraculously, the student pilot had survived, managing to exit the aircraft without any emergency help required.
Dude,
But
how?
he did suffer some injuries in the crash, which was officially deemed by authorities to be minor. As a precautionary
Yeah, let's say,
measure,
that shouldn't be
emergency
that bad.
services transported the pilot to a local hospital with what were described as non-life-threatening injuries.
Yeah, that
As
can't
it
be that
turns
bad.
out, this was not the last crash to take place at North Perry Airport. Since this incident in 2019, multiple other planes have crashed at the runway, suggesting a sinister and eerie pattern of misfortune. And not all of them have been so lucky. In 2022, an instructor and a student both died in a plane crash on the runway. In 2023,
Damn.
another student pilot survived a near-fatal crash, escaping with spinal cord injuries. And in 2025,
This
the plane
year.
landed on its roof after crashing in a freak accident.
Oh,
Every single incident has been on the same runway, always in broad daylight and in perfect flying conditions. Many have come to believe
That's
that
so
the airport
weird.
has some unique curse on it, seemingly the only
So,
explanation for so much misfortune.
just shut it down? I mean,
Level 6. Body stain in an abandoned
like, that
house.
could cause so many other
2020,
deaths
an
after
urban
those incidents
explorer
besides,
with
like,
a
small
rider was about
airplanes.
to delve into his latest exploration target, an old abandoned home that once
Oh,
belonged to a
that does
woman
not
who
look
died
fucking
under
good.
mysterious, tragic circumstances.
Ugh.
Ryder didn't know how the woman had died, but her house had become a popular spot for urban explorers
Oh,
who
it's
were
so
always
gross.
shocked by the condition within. The second Ryder stepped inside, he understood why.
It's like looking
The
into
house
someone's
was
last day
completely
almost.
undisturbed, seeming more like a time capsule to the period where this woman lived than an abandoned home. Of course, there were signs of abandonment, namely the overwhelming presence of squirrels. But otherwise, it seemed as though someone had lived here until very, very recently. Ryder explored the entire house from the upper bedrooms to the lower
Sounds so
basement,
nasty.
taking in the entire residence and slowly piecing together the story of this woman's life. She was an avid smoker, as seen by the nicotine film. Her husband had died before she did, and she had multiple gun cases throughout the house,
Wow.
suggesting she and her husband were very protective. But what really caught Ryder's eye was the
Oh, the
body
fucking-
stain, a human-shaped mark left on the floor beside the original owner's walker. That's when he realized the woman
Oh.
had died right there where he was standing.
Oh.
She likely took some kind of fall and simply never recovered. In fact, she probably
Never
lay there
recovered,
for hours
huh?
or even days before anyone found her.
Yeah.
Belongings
Maybe
had
a
been
few
rifled
weeks.
through, suggesting that someone did eventually come to collect her things. But that body stain messed Ryder up. He had to stop filming for 20 minutes just to process the realization that he was staring at the exact place where a woman lost her life.
It's like getting scared by
That's
a
when he
shadow.
started to piece everything together. All of the gun cases were empty, suggesting that someone had come into the home and ransacked them. Maybe that happened
Yes.
after she died, but maybe it happened shortly before. Maybe it was even the reason that she
Nah,
died.
no.
Dangerous
There's no way.
waters on Rampart
There's not enough liquid
Range
stains there.
trails. In July 2017, authorities became aware of an increasingly dangerous trend going on in the trails of Colorado. Wire booby traps had been set up
Wire
along the
booby
forest
traps?
high enough that a biker going at speed would almost certainly be decapitated.
Ooh,
The
what
first
the
wire trap was reported
fuck?
on July 2nd, shortly
Who
after the
does
opening of
that?
motorcycles for the season. An 18-year-old man had been riding his bike through the
Yeah,
trail
it was like-
only to get caught on the wire and strongly yanked off the bike.
Nearly
He survived his
invisible,
injuries,
too.
suffering only 2 broken ribs. But this video shows the discovery of the second. A local dirt biker just happened to notice the wire before impact and immediately pulled out his camera to capture what was going on. The trails are open to pretty much everybody, including hikers, horses, bicycles, and motorcycles. but it was pretty obvious that the traps were specifically targeting off-road riders. The reason why, nobody has any idea. It's
Damn, giving me the
suspected
cabinet like
culprit
that
would
would
have been someone
suck.
who opposed motorized vehicles like motorcycles being used in the area, hoping that by threatening their life, it would be enough to end it. But instead, all they did was almost end someone's life to prove their point. As a precautionary measure, the U.S. Forest Service temporarily closed the trail to all users while the investigation continued, but the outrage spread almost immediately. It turns out this is not the only incident in Colorado. For years now, unknown culprits have been doing everything they can to try and dissuade bikers from using the trails. The decapitation wires are only the most recent in a long series of booby traps. Authorities have also been called out to investigate the use of spike strips, used to dangerously pop the tires of the bikes and send the riders careening off the trail, possibly to their deaths. Other incidents have seen holes being dug and barely disguised for the same reason. It's obvious that someone in Colorado wants to put an end to the bikers on the trails.
Bungee board type shit?
Exactly who those people are remains an open
brother?
question for law enforcement. Jacob
What is
Cockle.
wrong with people?
It was May 28, 2013, and in Cornwall, England, a 28-year-old photographer named Jacob Cockle was on his way to see a real-life whirlpool. Jacob was hugely successful for his age, thanks to his daring approach to photography and his love of the ocean. He had captured some of the most incredible award-winning images in British journalism, all because he was not afraid to risk his life for the shot. That bravery had just won him a
Dude, that fucking penguin is fucking
trip to Antarctica.
just bee hopping. What the
But
fuck?
before he went, he wanted one incredible shot. Jacob had gone to Carsnu Pool, a notorious area for whirlpools, with his friends.
He's not gonna
David
jump in
Rain.
it.
David was going to film Jacob as he swam inside the whirlpool, an exceptionally dangerous plan,
Yeah.
and one that signs all over the pool strongly warned against due to the strong currents. But just to make the footage even more incredible, Jacob insisted he would be wearing a plastic horse's head. When he got
What
into the
the
water, Jacob
fuck?
managed to avoid being pulled down by the current by swimming backward, a trick that allowed him to enjoy the thrill with minimal risk. But he wanted a better shot. He wanted underwater footage. Using a GoPro camera, Jacob dove beneath the surface for one last shot, but he would never resurface. When Jacob didn't come up,
Oh.
David started to panic. He went searching the area, looking into the drainage tunnel in hopes that Jacob had washed up, but he didn't. There was no sign of Jacob anywhere. Then, David spotted him, floating face down in the water at the other end of the pool. Despite immediate efforts to save him, including CPR administered by David and a passerby, Jacob was pronounced dead after being airlifted to the Royal Cornwall Hospital. The coroner's report concluded that Jacob had died from drowning, with trace amounts of ketamine found in his system, though not enough to cause intoxication. Jacob's death was ruled accidental,
What
with
the
the coroner
fuck?
acknowledging him as a competent swimmer but also a calculated risk-taker. His untimely death shocked the community, with his funeral drawing so many mourners that the church reached maximum capacity. A year after Jacob's death, the drainage
What?
system in Hale Harbor was altered, eliminating the formation of the whirlpool that had fascinated and ultimately claimed Jacob's life.
Yeah, I don't know what you
Level
missed.
7.
Maybe you missed that whirlpool.
Killer Vlogs.
And then the house.
On April
The house
22nd,
one.
2012, Peter Keller, a 41-year-old survivalist from North Bend, Washington, murdered his wife Lynette and daughter Kayleen,
Murder?
shooting them both in the head.
Murder.
He went on to execute their
Murder.
family pets, setting their home on fire to destroy the evidence.
Why are
and
we
cover
executing
his
the
tracks
pets,
before
brother?
disappearing into the wilderness.
The fuck is wrong with
Peter
you?
had long planned this. Over the course of 8 years, he had secretly constructed an elaborate 2-story underground bunker in the dense forests
Huh?
of Rattlesnake Ridge. His hidden fortress was meticulously designed and stockpiled with supplies, weapons, and ammunition.
Oh yeah, supplies,
He was
coke.
convinced that the apocalypse was around the corner and that it would be merciless and brutal on just about everybody. In his mind, the murders were actually acts of mercy. But law enforcement was on the hunt for him. Detectives pieced together clues from recovered computers, cell phone records, and even enhanced photographs found in the burned house. These leads, combined with old-fashioned detective work, eventually led them to the vicinity of Peter's hideout. Peter's bunker itself was a marvel of DIY engineering. Built 20 feet into a hillside, it featured log cabin walls, multiple levels, and was equipped with a generator, police scanner, and various survival gear to prepare himself for
The fuck is like 60 seconds?
Now, as authorities closed in, a tense 22-hour standoff ensued. SWAT teams surrounded the bunker, eventually using explosives to breach its roof. On April 28, 2012, they entered to find Peter Keller dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. But it wasn't until he had died
below
that
the
police found
wooden
the most
hatch
disturbing
open.
piece of evidence yet, a video diary that Peter had recorded around 2 weeks before the murders. The video showed Peter casually discussing his plans to drop out of society and acknowledging the possibility of his own death, stating, "I can always shoot myself, and I'm okay with that." Ultimately, everything that Peter said he would do, he went on to do. At no point did he ever hesitate on his plan. It's pretty clear that he always intended to do this. Whether or not he truly believed in the apocalypse, however, or just used it as an excuse, is unclear.
Damn, what the
Campione
fuck?
tape. On October 2nd, 2006, Frances Elaine Campione was recording a video about her failed marriage. When she was 20 years old, Frances moved to Ontario, met Leo Campione, and married. But their relationship deteriorated, leading to a bitter divorce and custody battle. This video saw her aggressively expressing her hatred towards Leo, claiming that God was taking care of the children that they shared. The ominous words were intense, but the reality behind them was far, far worse.
After the 3 years of physical, emotional, and mental abuse that I endured tremendously by Leonardo Campione, and in the past year from Anna and Diego Campione, the mental and emotional abuse, which wouldn't stop, and I had CAS keep bringing these two people into my life over and over again when I kept telling them the amount of mental and emotional abuse it was causing my 3-year-old daughter Serena and I and Sophia. It was horrible and uncalled for, and I want justice to my family for what they have all done to us.
What the
I
fuck?
cried out for help. They should have
Who did?
charged him for the assaults he did to me, the assaults he did to my oldest daughter Serena, and they did nothing for us.
Their 2 young daughters, Serena and Sophia, no older than 3 years old, were both dead. Frances had drowned them in a bathtub of their apartment for no reason whatsoever. After the drowning, she had dressed the girls in pajamas, posed them on a bed, and attempted suicide herself, but she wasn't successful. And now she would have to seriously pay the price for the crimes she had committed. Frances was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. Her trial lasted 7 weeks, during which her lawyer argued for a not guilty verdict by reason of insanity. The defense highlighted Frances's history of mental illness, including multiple stays in psychiatric wards, suicide attempts, and paranoid delusions. The argument, they said, was that this would always have happened. But the video evidence kept coming back, showing that Frances was psychologically there, very conscious that what she was doing was wrong, and done with the intent of hurting her ex-husband. On November 5th, 2010, a jury found Frances guilty of first-degree murder.
Wow, really?
The verdict indicated that despite her mental health issues, she was always aware that murder was wrong. Frances was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum of 25 years before parole eligibility.
Really?
Frances filed against her convictions, but in 2015, some of these were denied by the Ontario Court of Appeal. In a controversial move, Judge Alfred Stong, who presided over the trial,
Mr.
made
Ballin.
comments after the verdict suggesting that if he had the power, he would have overturned the jury's decision. He implied that Frances's actions were a result of the abuse she had suffered at the hands of her ex-husband. But for most people, Frances's actions were simply beyond forgiveness.
That's how you outlash? Hey, yo. Get fucking Shane Dawson off my fucking shit right now. What the fuck?